let's go ahead and get started, yeah?
Go ahead and start. So as you guys know, we love to start things with meditation. And what better topic than to start things with meditation? So I'm going to go ahead and have us do our thing. So let's go ahead and sit up tall, close your eyes, get comfortable. Oh, and can everyone mute their mic, please? Sorry, when all the mics are muted. Or you know what? I can be a dictator and just mute everybody. Oh, Skya, can you mute? I'm not allowed to mute you. It doesn't let me. Okay. Now I'm mute. Wait. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. We shall begin. Okay. So once again, closing our eyes. And we'll just take a little inventory of noticing how you're feeling. We talked about how important that is last Sunday. We're going to take some long, slow, deep breaths, trying to breathe through your nose as best you can. And just feeling where you're tight or stuck or maybe a little uncomfortable or maybe have pain. And just take a moment and feel that sensation or those sensations. And now notice a part of your body that feels pretty okay. Maybe it feels really good, or maybe it just feels neutral. Just something maybe you weren't noticing a moment ago. Just discover a new part of you and just notice how it feels. Just breathing and feeling. Now coming back to feeling all of you. And now we're all going to take a big inhale, fill all the way up with breath. And then we're going to exhale through our mouth and just go and just let it all out. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale through the nose. Just kind of like a sigh of release. Last one, inhale. Release. And now try to take a breath through your nose where you inhale and then the exhale is longer than the inhale. Two more breaths with very slow motion exhale. And then open your eyes. All right, and Skya, you'll take it from here.
There we go. Well, welcome all of you. So today's topic, anxiety, depression, and sleep. So these are obviously things that, we can be experiencing right now. Sleep issues, some anxiety, some depression. There's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot of stress. This is a stressful situation we're under, for sure. And so what I kind of want to talk about is how anxiety and depression especially, and then, resulting sleep issues that can happen. Like these are things that can be either acute or chronic, right? Like they can be something that are the result of this current situation and the stress of it. But it can also be something that we all on some level deal with them, in a longer term, more chronic way. And so what Traci and I want to share with you is how our underlying health and how, like, the way that our body is working, our physiology, all of our biochemistry, our gut, our digestion, our thoughts, all of that affects this, whether or not we have anxiety and depression and therefore sleep issues in the long term. And then how does a situation like this, something that's stressful in the moment, and it's like we're all going through it, most of us are, stuck in our houses. Many of us don't have income. We're hearing, these reports of, people dying of this thing. And it's an overall stressful situation. And how does that cause in this moment anxiety and maybe some depression emotions come up for us? And how does that maybe hinder our ability to have really restful sleep? And so then what's the interplay between those two, right? Like, something stressful like this can actually exacerbate maybe some of the underlying conditions that could be causing our tendency to have anxiety or our tendency to feel a little bit depressed, right? So just wanting to have like a more broad view on how we can support whatever we're going through, whatever we're feeling. So maybe you're just feeling a little bit of anxiety and just, not feeling 100% yourself right now, or maybe you're feeling like a really deep depression because of everything that's happening. But we're going to give you some just really practical ways of understanding how to support your body and your mind and your emotions right now through this situation, and long-term too, right? Because this is going to apply to both. It's not going to just apply to this situation, but these are things that you can do for yourself going forward to really get to the root of like why, like what is anxiety? What is this feeling of depression? And like, if we're having sleep issues, like why? Like what's causing that? And it turns out, there's a lot of underlying causes. It's not just one thing. And so we really like to see symptoms like this, because we would consider anxiety or, feelings of depression a symptom of something, right? It's kind of like our body is trying to communicate to us that something is off, right? It's almost like a warning sign. It's like for instance, if you touch something hot and you feel pain, that's your signal to like stop touching the thing that's hot. And in a similar way, feeling strong negative emotions it's like your system, so not just your body, but your whole system is communicating to you that something is going on, and that maybe there's some nurture or self-care or some adjustment that's needed. Okay, and so that's what we're gonna focus on today. And this is usually some kind of combination of emotional stress, and maybe nutritional deficiencies can definitely be a part of this, because that affects our whole biochemistry. We know that our biochemistry is interrelated with our mental health, right? I mean, that's the whole psychology and psychiatry are based on that, right? And so also things that could be in our bodies, like toxins that we're exposed to. Inflammation in our bodies can definitely affect this, especially gut inflammation can lead to brain inflammation, and brain inflammation can definitely lead to feelings of depression or feelings of anxiety. Also chronic infections. So people, right now we're talking about this acute respiratory infection that's going around, but what about chronic infections? What about parasites, things like that are, hanging on in our body because maybe our immune system is depleted and it isn't able to, to actually get rid of some of these chronic infections. And that it's a normal thing. This is a normal part of being a human, is to have parasites, right? So this is just part of being a human. And this can lead to lots of things can lead to microbial imbalances. And we call this dysbiosis. So it's an imbalance in the microbes in our body. And so we're supposed to have microbes in our body, but they can definitely get imbalanced from toxins and stress and inflammation and gut issues. So we're going to kind of explore how to, like, things we can do for ourselves to help address this. And then if you're needing it, pointing you in the direction of how to go deeper into to some of these topics if you need to learn more. So, all right, Traci. Oh, wait, actually, I want to say one more thing. So we're going to talk about gene expression, right? And we're going to talk about how a a lot of times we think of ourselves as genetically determined, but a lot of these things we're going to share today can actually affect our gene expression. And we call that epigenetics. And that's our ability to actually alter or maybe fill in some of the gaps where our genes might be leaving us vulnerable. So we'll talk more about that. Go ahead, Traci.
Skya, I just wanted to add that I've been getting a lot of calls from people, and if one of you is, if you're one of them, it's fine. But I've been getting a lot of calls from people that are noticing strange symptoms in their body that they don't know what they are, that are of concern. And I want people to know that, like Skya was saying, as we have elevated levels of adrenaline and cortisol, it affects our insulin levels, our inflammatory response. So any imbalances we were already having in our body are going to be magnified right now. And then there's that added stress of, well, I don't want to go to a doctor or a clinic or somewhere where I'm going to increase my risk of exposure. A lot of places won't even see you. There's some people who have fevers for other reasons, like gastric reasons, but they can't see a doctor because they won't let them in with a fever until they prove they don't have COVID, but they can't get tested because the COVID people won't give them the test. So it's kind of like there are people that start feeling kind of like trapped and hopeless and overwhelmed. And so if you're experiencing that, you're not alone. So just know that when we're under stress, like Skya was saying, it starts to magnify what was already out of balance in our bodies and bring it to the surface. So we could look at it as terrifying and I can't get a doctor and I'm cornered, or there's another way to look at it as this is a time to get to know my body, to listen to what I'm feeling, start to nurture and nourish myself like I never have before in my life, and trust that my cells can correct themselves. So yes, there are people who have serious illnesses and need a doctor and might even need hospitalization. So I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but if you're having more minor symptoms and emotional symptoms, there are things that seem too simple, but they're exactly what your body needs. So we want to invite you to really take some of these suggestions to heart and really apply them, and not just be like, know them, but use them, because it's going to change your biochemistry, your cellular biology, your gene regulation, your microbial balance. The way your daily thoughts and actions shape your physiology, and your physiology shapes your thoughts, habits, and emotions. So it's the body, mind, mind, body. It's the exact same thing. They're not actually separate, even though we use different words. I want us to come up with a word that's like both. We need to work on that. Okay. So whether you're experiencing current anxiety, sleep, or depressive issues, feelings of hopelessness, because of the pandemic, or because of underlying health problems, or because the pandemic is magnifying underlying health problems, we're going to share some things to help you feel a lot better. Assuming you find it, of course.
Yes. So it's super important for us to honor, the wisdom of our body. If we're feeling these things, it's like, it's not a mistake, right? It's not a problem. It's something for you to feel and to honor as like, okay, well, my body's communicating something to me. So what do I need? What is it asking for? And in last Sunday's webinar, we encourage you to check that out, because we actually guided you through some techniques to actually like feel, and to actually, feel what's going on in your body, and not just try to, numb or bypass those feelings. So first of all, it's important to feel these feelings right now. And then the way that we honor these feelings is not by just trying to numb them out. And that's what so many people do, right? Like, I was at the grocery store today, and looking at this lady's cart, it was like all like sodas and sugar and pretzels and like all these things that just turn into sugar when you eat them. And I knew she was doing that because she's stressed out, and I knew she was doing that because it brings some form of relief, but it's a relief that comes by numbing the symptoms, right? You can kind of get high from eating sugar because it can be used as a drug, right? And that's basically just bypassing or numbing out and masking these symptoms. And so instead of doing that, we're going to share with you things that you can do that will actually honor those feelings, but also allow you to shift your physiology and shift your thinking and just shift your whole way of approaching the situation. Okay.
That's a really good point, Skya. So it's not even just like, it's damaging to numb and not feel our feelings and emotions and sensations and symptoms. So that in and of itself is damaging. But then the things we do that, like we poison ourselves to feel better, that actually exacerbates mental illness and insomnia. and inflammation and disease. So it's like kind of that irony. So Skya and I, we don't want to shame pleasure. We want to teach you healthy pleasures. We want to teach you ways to feel good that are constructive and not destructive. So that's what we're going to do today. And so what are some of the things we can do to help ourselves if we're feeling depression, if you're feeling heavy, hopeless, sad, listless, like what's the point? You're running worst case scenarios in your head, anxiety also running worst case scenarios, shaking, sped up heartbeat, sweating, like trouble sleeping, racing thoughts, all those things. These are all imbalances in our biochemistry, and our body feels not safe. And so I'm going to start with some of the most simple ways that we can tell our bodies that we're safe. We can tell our nervous system we're safe. So breathing and feeling, we've already mentioned, but our brain likes structure. So the reality is we're never in control and we never can know what's going to happen. That's an illusion. But our psyche likes some semblance of an illusion of control and normalcy and structure. So if you, like me, let like a mountain of laundry pile up when this first started happening, or, like I think when our whole schedules got kind of mixed up and changed and everything, there was a disruption to our routines. So having a routine, a time you get up, a time you go to bed, like when you do your laundry, when you shop, or how you get your food or order online or whatever, when you cook, when you eat, like this may seem very simple, but literally just picking up stuff off the floor and making your bed, or changing clothes and not staying in the same outfit for 4 days because you didn't have to leave your house. Like, like just things like that can tell yourself that, you're okay and that you're not sick and that you're safe. And so just things like, I already said, changing your clothes, doing laundry, cleaning your house, organizing, taking care of things, like taxes. Although just the T word can give some people anxiety.
That's true. But it's better to face it than to avoid it. Although we have till July. But anyways, other great things to add to that routine are moving in ways that make you feel good. Like move your body, get in your body. We talked a lot about that in the past webinars, but definitely scheduling exercise in, right? Exercise is one of the best things you can do for boosting all the happy, feel-good neurotransmitters. Okay, so we want to make sure if we're feeling down that we give ourselves something that will literally bring us back up in a healthy way. And exercise is just one of the best ways to do that. And again, even doing things like this will literally shift your genetic expression, right? Like from genes of disease being expressed to when you start exercising, it's more genes of like building your body and actually creating, lean body tissue and improving all of the different, biochemistry in your body. So definitely exercise is a big one.
And I want to add to what Skya's saying. So I used to have a mental allergy to the word exercise, but somehow like movement doesn't sound so bad. Dancing, walking, those things don't sound so bad. So if you have a mental allergy to the word exercise, or you hated PE as a child and you've yet to make friends with movement, then think of it as movement. It could be yoga, tai chi, dancing around your house with or without clothes on, like go for a walk, like you happen to live somewhere has a friendly outdoor environment where you can go for a walk on a trail or a beach, or, just walking, to your mailbox, for some people that's going for a walk, depending on your ability level. Hi, Mom. Anyway, just dropped a little hand.
Sit in a chair and move your body. You don't have to, if you can't get up, you can do it there.
I think I mentioned a client who disco dances in her wheelchair. So anyway, so find joyful movement. And the more joyful you are when you move, the more it lights up more parts of your brain and tells you that you're safe. And the more it soothes your nervous system. So like, just finding new ways to use your brain and move, like I've mentioned on a previous webinar, that's really important. So find something you like, or at least something you don't hate or aren't scared of, and start small. And if you start like trying to do strength conditioning, do it a little bit at a time and build up. Don't try to go overboard and then you feel awful and then you never want to work out again. Okay. So, and one of the things I kind of wanted to incorporate into the movement is like go outside. So even if you're just sitting outside eating, we've said this on probably every webinar, but you need to be outside. You need sun, you need fresh air, you need microbes from the outdoors. So if you're locked up inside, that can literally create a prisoner feeling that can exacerbate feelings of depression and anxiety. So it can create a chemical reality in which you feel depressed and anxious if you go outside. And also we want to look out for our microbiome. So that's the sum total of all the microbes in your body that make you up. So we're as much microbial as human. We're a symbiont. So it's very cool. So we have this idea of microbes are bad and we need to kill them all. And I think now we're learning, oops, that was wrong, because if we killed all our microbes, we would die instantly. They do very important things for us. So if you want to be very cautious about use of antibiotics unnecessarily, you need to, go outside, breathe fresh air, be on soil that's not poisoned so you can get microbe interaction. Fermented foods, if you don't have a strong histamine issue or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, if you have those things, you know it probably. But just if you eat probiotics and you get bloated or feel tired or have changes in bowel habits that aren't pleasant, then that might be a sign you have some kind of underlying issue that you need to address, and maybe you should take a break from probiotic foods. But just know that our thoughts change our microbes, that our thoughts change the chemical environment that your cells and your microbes exist in. So a stressful environment in your head will create a stressful physiological environment. And vice versa, if you have an imbalance in the microbes in your body, meaning you're overfeeding yeasts and bacteria that feed off sugar, or you're creating inflammation that a lot of microbes that cause inflammation are specialized to kind of break down damaged tissue. And so if you're inflamed, then you're going to have the wrong kinds of microbes and more susceptible to infection. So you really want to eat foods that are nourishing and soothing to your body that don't cause inflammation. This is something Skya and I work with clients on, and that we teach, and we're going to be teaching in a group course we'll tell you about more later. But you just want to eat real food. I mean, we've said this a million times. We think people need a little more structure with this, which is why we want to offer courses and why we offer one-on-one work. But, we talked before about zombie grazing versus scheduled meals. So if you're just kind of eating randomly throughout the day, again, back to schedule, back to routine, we need to eat, whether you eat 2 or 3 meals a day or whatever your meal structure is, like try to be sort of regular day to day, more or less. And if you just kind of graze all day, you lose track of what you even ate. Like, did you get all your nutritional needs met? I don't know. Did you eat too much, too little? I don't know. I was just grazing all day. I was zombie eating, So you want to make sure that you're eating structured, balanced meals, which we can teach you what that is if you're interested. And we're also going to be having we're doing some writing, some articles on why can't I stop eating in quarantine? So we'll be helping you with that. Jessica, I'm glad
now is a really great time just to learn new things to cook, because that can feel very satisfying, just to do something that's new and try something that you haven't tried before, and just that little reward you get, and then of course you get to eat it, which is another reward. So now's a great time to get online and learn some new recipes.
Yeah. So one quick thing about food, I think we talked before in previous replays about foods that cause inflammation, but I just want to say really quick, refined vegetable oils, processed sugars, and for a lot of people, gluten and even cow dairy, some people peanuts, whatever. If a food is causing an inflammatory reaction, it isn't necessarily going to even show. It can show up in your gut, but it can also show up in your brain in the form of anxiety and depression. So pay attention to what you're eating, because a lot of people will eat a lot of bread and say, I'm fine because my stomach doesn't hurt, but you're really anxious or depressed and you can't sleep or you feel hopeless. Give it a rest and, take a break for a little while, get it out of your system, and, see if you feel better. And it takes weeks, not days. I wish I could say you could quit gluten for one day or sugar for one day and you'll probably feel better. But you need to give your body some time to get out of the loop. So, and I've said this before, gluten sensitivity, not allergy, but sensitivity, it's something you can't know if you have it or not for sure. You can't know for sure you don't have it unless you get tested, because it can have less than obvious symptoms that are often mental health issues. There are people who've taken their children off cow dairy, the casein and the albumin, not just the lactose, and they've reversed bipolar disorder by changing diets. So psychiatric disorders can actually be treated through lifestyle.
Yeah, it often comes back to the gut, right? And so, gut issues are very common in our society: IBS, IBD, Crohn's, things like that. And it's multifactorial. It's not just gluten and it's not just cow dairy, but like Tracy's saying, those are common trigger foods. But stress is a huge trigger for our gut not functioning properly, which can then lead to a whole cascade of us not digesting properly, which can then lead to some of these food sensitivities. But it can also lead to malnutrition, right? And so many of the foods that are so common, like this lady I saw in the store today, like I saw a whole lot of calories, a whole lot of easy calories to get, but there really wasn't much nutrition that actually builds neurotransmitters and builds hormones and builds immune cells. So malnutrition, even in our prolific food society is very common. And so that's something to address, because again, if you don't have the building blocks for some of these brain chemicals, it's going to be a lot harder to feel joy and happiness if you don't actually have the neurotransmitters for it. All right. And then of course there's other inflammatory foods that can cause inflammation in your body. And as we talked about, inflammation can affect your mood and your brain. And these are things like refined vegetable oils, right? Because they're generally rancid and they cause inflammation. Sugar is inflammatory when you eat refined sugar and too much of it, and it causes high insulin levels. So it's just really important to balance our blood sugar. Like that's such a huge tool that we have. And we'll talk a little more about it in a minute when we talk about brain neurotransmitters. But to balance your blood sugar is so important. So watching, how much sugar you eat, and then watching the stress, and then doing things, after you eat, like going for walks or doing some movement, can actually help to stabilize blood sugar. Okay. And so then moving on to hormones. So again, this is part of this blood sugar curve is insulin, right? Because insulin is what our body produces if we're lucky and we're not diabetic. It's what our body produces to basically keep our blood sugar going, into our cells to be used as fuel instead of just being in our bloodstream, which can be really dangerous. So again, eating in a way that's not going to make your insulin spike is like the most foundational way that we have control over our endocrine system, over our hormones, right? So that, and then the way that we're thinking and the stress that we're exposed to, that's going to affect our cortisol and our insulin levels, right? Because when we're under stress, our insulin levels go up and our cortisol levels go up. And cortisol is basically a corticosteroid. It's a steroid hormone. And both of these, we have so much influence over that it really, like for me, like it tells me that we have a lot more power to affect our hormones than we're normally given credit for. But we just have to know, what are the things to do. And so that's everything we've been talking about so far helps to basically level those out, which is then going to affect things like our thyroid hormones and all the other hormones in our body, right? And when those go out of whack, so let's say, we've got our insulin going crazy and our cortisol is going crazy, and then for those reasons and others, maybe our thyroid hormones are either high or low, that can definitely cause anxiety and depression. Having low thyroid hormone can definitely depress your whole system. Everything kind of slows down. Okay. So it's just really important to be doing what we can to support our endocrine system.
Yeah. And I think something that people may not realize is when we say junk's bad for you, but some of the, it can be fertilizers, pesticides, additives, preservatives, dyes, like Cheetos or something, like factory farm animal products, things like that. They have chemical components in them that are called endocrine disruptors, meaning they interfere with hormone signaling. Hormones communicate important messages across your body on a cellular level, on a molecular level. And if you interrupt those, it's like a dropped ambulance call. Like it's not good. If enough of those happen, you end up screwing up the whole delicate symphony of your body. So just eating a bag of Cheetos or just drinking a soda, or even, we prefer you do health food store junk food. We're all going to want some junk food sometimes, get it from a health food store, make sure it's hyped with the best quality you can. Just because it's in a health food store doesn't mean it's good for you. So you need to educate yourself to be conscious about ingredients. And we do offer that. So, but you want to realize that when you put things in your body made of molecules that we have not evolved to use to nourish and heal ourselves, you are running interference with the molecules of the cells of, of the tissues of you. It's not like you want to feel guilty for as some external shaming from society. You just want to love yourself so much that you wouldn't want to do that to yourself. Why would you, when there's so many other things you could be eating that taste better? And, you know, and it's just an old habit, and you can change your habits. We're neuroplastic elastic. We can change our habits. So just know you can. And speaking of changing habits, this is one that I've had to revisit. Like one of the ways my stress came out was, besides a pile of laundry, was just kind of staying up too late, like getting off my sleep cycle and getting off my magical morning sunshine ritual routine. It's my favorite. Makes my day magical. So I was doing this thing where I would stay up late at night and then get on electronics and have crappy sleep, wake up feeling like crap in the morning, sleep a little later, miss my magical morning sunshine ritual, miss my meditation, go to my first appointment and just feel like crap, and then be, you know, and then I would have more anxiety and start to feel depressed and hopeless. And then my mind started thinking of all these bad things that could happen financially or to people or in the, like whatever. It's just my mind went negative. And it was a domino effect. And I can trace it right back to not getting off my electronics, not going to bed, getting myself ramped up mentally with blue and green lights, you know, when it was time for my retina to take in darkness and signal melatonin, which then boosts my immune system, destroys cancer cells, helps me sleep peacefully, helps heal my body, take down inflammation so I can wake up the next morning restored. And then I can go outside and see the sun and, you know, set up my circadian rhythms and do a little meditation and breathing and work on some visualization. And then like suddenly I'm in this magical world again where things are going to be okay, you know, and it's okay if you falter in your rhythms. It's just like when you do things that make you feel bad, instead of feeling guilty, just say, oh, was I giving myself more of what I wanted or less of what I wanted? And in the moment at night when I'm staying up on Netflix watching the 8th episode of Gilmore Girls, not the 8th, I'm exaggerating a lot, maybe the 3rd, you know, did I really need to see what happened with so-and-so's boyfriend? Or could I have just like cut it off and waited for tomorrow and like gone to bed and had a way better day the next day? So we need to train ourselves. If we want to heal depression and anxiety, we need to start thinking about our future selves, future Traci, future Skya, future Rachel, future Judy, future Jeffrey, future Patty, future Sita, you know, if I left you out, future Jessica. And we need to look out for our future selves. And one of the most challenging areas, food can be challenging to look out for your future self, but sleep, that's one of the biggest areas that you got to love yourself and really see the big picture. So to set up your circadian rhythms, I kind of gave you a scenario already, but ideally you would want to get off electronics or get these glasses. Hold on, I have them. They're really cool. I'm a sleep nerd. Okay. These are not fashionable.
Oh my God, you're such a dork. I love it.
But they block blue and green light. So if you need to be like, you know, you're still getting over your addiction to electronics or resetting your circadian rhythms. Oh my God, I have to send this thing and there's a deadline, or I forgot my GE taxes. Thank you, Jessica. Anyway, she said, thank you for being a sleep nerd. Anyway, I can still, you know, I'm still getting EMFs. I'm still getting the electronic kind of buzz in my body, but it's better. Your brain up. I'm chilling my brain out a little bit. So anyway, so you can get these glasses. And then, you know, things like earplugs. I love these. They're French. They're made from beeswax. And so earplugs and little eye masks. So you sleep in the dark. I even do something really weird, but it's really cool. It makes you breathe through your nose. It's called mouth taping. It doesn't make you feel suffocated usually, unless you can't breathe through your nose. Yeah, they do work great. Thank you for backing me on the mouth tape. But anyway, this trains your brain to breathe through your nose and not your mouth, so you stay out of fight or flight. So one of the things that can give you anxiety, especially as you sleep or in the morning or cause insomnia, is mouth breathing. If you don't breathe through your nose, you're not filtering the air. You're putting your brain in a more of a fight or flight state. So mouth breathing tells about, like, I'm not safe.
You're breathing when you mouth breathe. You're breathing too much. You're hyperventilating.
So you want to breathe through your nose as best you can. So this mouth tape, it has a little hole in it so you can still get air through it, just kind of slows it down. And I notice I sleep better, and they use it in children, and children who have nightmares, and it tends to stop the nightmare. So you can actually change your brain state by just nose breathing throughout the day and at night. And by mouth taping at night, you can actually train your brain to nose breathe during the day because you spent 8 hours nose breathing. So it wired up your circuitry to breathe through your nose. So anyway, and then again, you want to be in darkness. You can do blackout curtains and all that, but I just put a mask on me. And again, like I said, the earplugs. I like the beeswax ones because they don't irritate your ears. They're made of beeswax. It's more similar to your natural. Yeah, it's Quies.
No, but what about for the mouth tape?
Oh, sorry. I saw in the chat. Oh, Somnifix. And it feels gentle. It feels like a kiss. So anyway, highly recommend trying that. Yeah, thanks, Skya, for typing that in the chat. Okay.
Can I also add just how like also just the way that we're thinking throughout the day like really affects like our quality of sleep? Because if we are spinning out in different, you know, worst case scenario type thoughts, or, you know, just kind of stressing ourselves out, you know, throughout the day, then all of that has to come up in our sleep, right? Like that's what dreaming typically is it's working out so many of the things that are going on in our daily consciousness. So definitely making an effort to, like Traci said, like have a magical day, do what you can to, you know, calm the mind and, you know, feel better, you know, get your happy chemicals up, and that's itself is going to help you sleep better throughout the night.
Because our circadian rhythms affect our neurotransmitters it affects our gut health, our biochemistry. It's extraordinarily complex and poetically beautiful how we're this orchestra, this molecular orchestra, the symphony of cells, right? And so, you know, when you have, like Skya was saying, like if you're just binging on social media, coronavirus, like take a break from the word coronavirus or COVID-19. Sometimes I say this viral situation or whatever, like try to take a break from it. Like as part of your structuring, maybe you have time where you just don't look at any of that stuff. Select your news source, figure out who you trust and who you want to listen to. And then maybe they're going to send you all this stuff and you're going to have to be discerning about what can. And one of the hints is if you read something that makes you go, like that's your inner wisdom saying this isn't a match for me. Like, or you're interpreting the information in a way that's causing more mental pain and emotional pain. So one of the things we work with people out on is reframing how we take in information so we don't have those trigger reactions in our bodies. I know when I am running anxious or depressed, I've struggled with both. Experience with both and with insomnia. And when I've experienced that, suddenly everything seems bleak and hopeless and dark. Like it's like I think about someone, I think, what if something bad happened to them? Or I think about a client, I think, what if like I don't get any more clients or whatever, you know what I mean? So when we're in that negative state, it's better to not focus on anything that matters and start coming back into this moment. Like just focusing on my bed is nice. I'm so lucky I have a bed. Many people in the world sleep on the floor. I have fresh air coming in through the windows. I have like focus on what feels good. Focus on what you appreciate. Like if anyone's ever heard, whether you like it or not, or agree or not, Abraham Hicks says there's this term like rampage of appreciation, where you just start appreciating the fan, you appreciate the sound birds, you appreciate like little things, and just you bring your focus into this moment and what's good. And don't, until your brain state shifts, you can use pranayama, yogic breathing, you can use meditation. All those things shift your brain out of negativity. So I think a practice as you're going to bed or when you get up in the morning, where you sit and breathe and feel for any number of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour. You sit and meditate or breathe, just call it breathing and feeling. And when your mind's spinning out, just start focusing on things you feel lucky to have in your life. And it may sound trite to say, just practice an attitude of gratitude, but you literally change your biochemistry when you focus on things that feel good. Just like I had you focus on the part of your body that wasn't in pain. If you replay last Sunday's webinar, there's a practice, a meditation Skya led and a practice I gave you guys. And if you replay those and use them, you can start rewiring your brain to heal your limbic system, which if you have anxiety and especially anxiety, but also depression, that means your brain is wired up with these habits that are causing this to become a chronic situation. And if you don't tend to it, it can become habitual over a very long time. So whether you've had depression, anxiety for decades or days, there are things you can do to rewire and heal your limbic system. If you've had a chronic condition for a very long time or underlying health issues like Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr, mold poisoning, parasites, the hormone like thyroid disease, autoimmune disease, things like that. Yeah, we can offer you support that's more targeted to your specific health needs. So if you have a complex health situation, we'll tell you how you can get a hold of us to get help with that. But we really encourage you to try some of this basic stuff, see where you land. You'll feel better. You will feel better. If you apply this stuff, you will feel better. And then you can see what's residual. Like if you have a good diet and you're sleeping well and you're meditating and you're being kind to yourself, you know, then, and you still are anxious, depressed, or have insomnia, there might be an underlying medical condition that you need help with, but at least you won't be making it worse with things you can do something about.
I also just want to add, this is like a really good time, you know, when we're in this pause, to be looking at some of the underlying causes of some of these habitual thoughts. And these can be things like past traumas or, you know, shame that we've been programmed with, because we've all been programmed with lots of shame, guilt, you know, all of these kinds of things that can be under there, and we don't even really realize that they're guiding our thoughts towards things that are, you know, more stressful, and maybe just ways of seeing the world that's more stressful and more fear-based. So this is just a really good time to do a lot of like self-reflection and just do some of that inner work that's, you know, required to really get to some of that deeper healing. And we love to support people in that kind of emotional healing work as well, because really that's just some of the most important work you can do for freeing your physiology to go back into ease and go back into, you know, fully optimally functioning. Okay.
Yeah, and Skya is going to send you, it's going to send you an email right when this is over. And if someone's feeling like they need more help, then we're going to have some links to, you can schedule like free 20-minute calls. And if we can't resolve it in that 20 minutes, we can come up with some options for what might help you. And so I'm going to end with some supplements. So I see supplements as something that can help people while you're in your healing process. You don't want to just depend on the crutch or the Band-Aid or whatever forever, but this is something that can help you get some more immediate relief while you're working on all the lifestyle stuff. But I want us to make a deal, guys, that if you take the supplements, you do the self-care, and, you know, so you eventually might be able to get to the point you don't need them. Not to say if you continue to need them, that's bad. Just really, you know, like I use this metaphor all the time. Like if your boat is sinking because there are holes in it, don't plug up holes, but drill new holes at the same time, or you're still going to sink. So start plugging up the holes, plug the leaks, get the water out, float your boat. But in the meantime, this is how you can help yourself. So still got my cool glasses on. Okay. Let's go with, okay. So anxiety, depression, hopelessness. If you guys can hear my roommate just,
No.
okay. All right, so anxiety, this is overexaggerating oversimplifying neurotransmitters, but I'm gonna make it palatable to you. So in general, when we're experiencing anxiety, we have a GABA dysregulation. GABA is a neurotransmitter that is inhibitory. It calms you down. And so that breathing does that, yoga does that, you know, all kinds of things, positive thoughts do that, hugs do that, if you're actually allowed to touch anyone right now. But GABA is a soothing neurotransmitter. So you can actually buy GABA. When you buy GABA, it cannot cross the blood-brain barrier, but you can calm your enteric, or the like feeling in your guts by taking GABA. It'll help calm you down in your guts. And then, you know, your brain can kind of start to calm down with it. And then there's something called butyric acid, or butyrate, but on the label it'll probably say butyric acid. It's something your gut needs to work properly, but there have been studies that show it's kind of like a backdoor strategy that it can help in that, Skya. And I like ecological formulas, butyric acid. So write that down. Ecological formulas, butyric acid. If you find another brand you like better, that's fine. But butyric acid with GABA together can really help calm anxiety. Okay? So, and you'll have to play with the dosage. I would start low and work up. Don't take way too much. Any of these things, if you take too much, will cause side effects. So they're called paradoxical side effects. If you take too much stuff for anxiety, it can actually cause more anxiety, right? And if you take too much stuff for depression, it can actually cause other things like serotonin sickness, like headaches and dizziness and weird stuff. You would know if you had it, because it would suck. Okay, so the next thing after GABA and butyric acid for anxiety, you can take it during the day and at night, by the way. is either tryptophan or 5-HTP. I tend to start with recommending 5-HTP because it's what our body does with tryptophan. We convert it. When we get tryptophan is an amino acid that's found in food. Like, you know, we most know of it from being from meat, but it is found also in plant foods. So you can just Google high tryptophan foods if you want. But you can also take a supplement. I like Pure Encapsulations, 5-HTP. Skya, can you type 5-HTP if you haven't already in the chat? So that one is going to, here's what it does. So your body converts tryptophan to 5-HTP, and then it converts 5-HTP to serotonin. So you guys know that's the kind of happy, feel good, everything's going to be okay kind of chemical. And then the serotonin then converts to melatonin, as you know, which helps you sleep and is also crucial for your immune system, for your mitochondria and your immune system. So to slow aging, to prevent cancer, kill cancer, and to boost your immune system. So if you take 5-HTP, you're getting the serotonin support, but you're also getting sleep and immune support. Is that not cool? It's like a printer, scanner, copier, all in one. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, and tryptophan could work for that too. It depends. Some people respond starting with 5-HTP and then try tryptophan if that's not so effective for you. There are supplements that can trigger more anxiety. And I'm not saying these are bad. I'm saying in some people, like I'm one of those sensitive types. So like things like glutamine that heal your gut lining or people use for workouts. If I take glutamine, I get anxiety. I start shaking and sweating and my heart speeds up like I drank caffeine or something. So there are also herbs that do that, like Sita Akuta, which is random, but they're just notice if you're taking maca, you know, some of these adaptogens can make other people feel good, but might make you, if you're anxiety prone, might make you feel worse. But maybe if you're depressed, you know, something like St. John's wort could help. You know, there are different herbs that can help people with. But I think if you really just start with the 5-HTP, get good sleep and take care of yourself, you can actually reduce the inflammation in your system that's causing the depression. I've worked with clients that have had anxiety or depression for years, come out of it. Mm-hmm. And also the same thing with insomnia. Now, there are some cases of insomnia that there's something structural going on, like a heart valve issue or AFib. My mom went through that. Issues. So, yeah. So there can be.
I was having a lot of trouble sleeping, and it actually turned out to be a gut thing. So once I fixed that, I stopped having trouble sleeping, and I didn't have to use any of the supplements anymore. So, but some of the good ones you can use, there's one called Deep Sleep Formula. Do you know the brand of that, Traci?
I don't know the brand, but it's the only one. If you Google Deep Sleep in quotes, it's like herbs and things. It's like herbal formulas or some kind of like that. Yeah.
And then also 5-HTP can be a good thing to do before bed. So it'll help with everything Traci mentioned, but it's also great for the sleep piece because of its, you know, ability to increase melatonin. And it's also, I mean, you know, you've heard of taking tryptophan or eating foods high in tryptophan kind of make you a little sleepy afterwards. So it's kind of a similar situation. And then CBD for some people can help with both anxiety and sleep issues. So that would be from cannabis, high CBD cannabis strains. And the quality of that, you have to be careful because sometimes, you know, industrial hemp-based CBD can have heavy metals and things like that. So you just want to be careful with the quality of your CBD source. Okay. And then also the method of ingestion can matter. So for some people, you know, doing like a tincture or an oil or edible or something like that can be more helpful for, you know, lasting the whole night. All right. So, and of course that, you know, anything like that, you just have to like pay attention to your body because it works for some people and doesn't for everyone. So definitely listen to your body with any of these things. And then Traci, do you want to just throw out some of those other brands that you like? You're muted. Wait.
But with the CBD, like if you're in a place where CBD is the only thing that's legal, then you can try it. But I was reading some research showing that if you have 1 to 3% THC, it actually pushes more CBD into your. So if you're able to get medical cannabis that's organic, high quality, and you ingest it in a way where you're not setting it on fire and where you're like eating it, or at least a low temperature vape, and you're not putting a vape pen, you have to quality. That's another whole other topic. And I have a friend who's an expert on that, and Skya is really expert on that. So and I guess I've learned a lot too. So we can help you with that if you have questions about using medical cannabis, but that can help with depression, anxiety, and sleep, depending on the strains you get. So if you've experienced high anxiety from cannabis, then it might have been a strain that wasn't a match for you, but it doesn't mean that can't be a solution. It can also help lower histamine, and high histamine issues can actually, you may not know you have them, but they can actually cause anxiety and depression. So cannabis can work almost like for autoimmune situations as well. So it's pretty amazing the different things it can do. Oh, and one thing I forgot earlier was that if you're having anxiety and you're taking a lot of B vitamins, try taking a break, because you might be over methylating. So too much of a good thing, if you over detoxify or over treat, or if you try to chelate and you don't know what you're doing, you can make yourself sick. So like heavy metals can cause anxiety and depression and hair loss and all kinds of things, and aches and pains, but trying to like over chelating, like trying to pull out the metals too fast, it can make you even like more mentally unstable. So be careful, be gentle with yourself if you struggle with some mood stuff. And then the best brands, it was on the handout for the last Saturday's webinar. There was a handout that went out with the replays if you got that, if you were signed up before. But I'll tell you verbally. So they're pure encapsulations. I don't work for them or get any money from them. These are just a couple I mentioned. There are other ones. Encapsulations, Thorne, Thorne, Douglas Labs, Metagenics is a good one. Gaia is actually sold at health food stores. And Gaia has this thing called Adrenal Health that is a pretty good formula. It won't necessarily work for everybody, but if your adrenals you might want some adrenal support, or maybe just something like ashwagandha. So you might try Gaia Adrenal Health or ashwagandha. I tend not to make pretty blanket recommendations for people for adrenal support, because everyone has something different causing it. So anything you can do to soothe and calm yourself is going to be even better than a pill. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Skya, are we ready to open it up to some?
That's a good stopping point. So if anybody has any questions, we'd like to just open it up for like the next 10 minutes or so.
You can unmute yourself if you want to, Sarah.
I'm kind of curious about that histamine thing, because I've been having, I spoke to you, Traci, a little earlier today, actually. I don't typically have allergies. I never have in my entire life. And I've started having, like, back in March, caught a cold. Since then, I've had sneezing fits. I've had this chronic, like, itchiness in my lungs. And I ate what I think might have been a high barbecue chicken. Was that a high histamine food? Like, what kind of foods do you think might be triggering the anxiety?
Yeah, that's a huge question, but like you can Google high histamine foods and find out. And then you might try just watching, eat a low histamine meal, see how you feel, eat a high histamine meal, see how you feel. And if you notice you have histamine sensitivity, you can kind of mitigate it with the two things I just put in the chat, the D-hist or the high grade organic high CBD cannabis. But really, you might need to look into like doing kind of a lower histamine diet for a little while, just to empty your barrel and then add things back in and see if you react. That's
okay.
If that's what it is. I mean, when you've had an infection like that, I mean, it could just be like, in that sense, like a parasite that's still kind of like making its way in there, causing some problems or something. So there's just, we didn't know that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you and I talked about something you could do earlier today, and then yeah, and then but just you can pay attention. I think it's good for everyone to notice what high histamine foods are and see how you feel when you eat them. Anybody else? You can just unmute yourself. Okay, Autumn. Just kind of looked at the group view so I can see everyone there, and Sita's here and Patty's here. All right, so no questions? Are we all good?
I've got a question.
Okay, go ahead, Nana.
Can you hear me? Hi, I don't know why you can't see me, but do you have any suggestions for waking up in the night a couple of times?
Yes.
I fall asleep really easily and then I wake up.
Mm-hmm. And when you experience that, is there like a feeling of like kind of like mental stress or emotional stress?
No.
Okay, so it's probably more
It's
physiological.
like I'm done sleeping, it's time to get up. But no, it's 2 or 3.
So you're pretty awake. You're not just like, oh, I woke up to pee. You're like,
Right.
awake.
Yeah. I don't know why. And usually I'll put on like a meditation or some rain sound music, and then I'll go back to sleep within 10, 15 minutes. But why am I waking up?
You might be having a cortisol spike at that time. Oh, Jessica got her camera on. I love seeing you, Jessica.
Yeah, that's a pretty common time to have a cortisol spike.
Really? How can I stop it?
The circadian rhythms, all the nerd stuff I was doing, I'll have to buy the glasses, but I don't know how you are with like electronics and getting up. But if you get up in the morning early and go outside and get sunlight in your eyes for 10 minutes, that can help reset your circadian rhythms. And then being very careful using dim lights and getting off electronics and being especially careful for a couple weeks about it. Just kind of consider it a circadian reset fast or whatever. So you can kind of get your brain to stop doing that. And then if you use some of the herbs and supplements temporarily, all it's doing is you're just rewiring your brain to reset your circadian rhythms. And just try that for a few weeks, see how you're doing. And if you don't get better, then give us a call.
The other piece I would mention is, Chinese medicine does a lot to look at like how basically different organs at different times during that circadian rhythm are going through their cleansing, detoxification, and healing process. And so it can be common that it could just be like an organ that is having maybe a little bit of an extra need, or needing some extra care from your physiology, and so it could be related to that. So having maybe some treatments from a professional in that area, like an acupuncturist or someone who would be able to understand how to like look at your full body and all the different organ systems, could be really helpful.
Okay, Chinese medicine.
Yeah, I mean that's one form.
You can Google, well, yeah, you could ask a practitioner, but you can also Google their articles on it where you look up what time you wake up and it'll say what organ system or meridian system is being impacted.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So can I say something to that? Nana, my husband got on Traci's recommendation. We saw Dr. Carolyn Sakai. We see her regularly, my whole family, and my husband was waking up with severe anxiety for a while, and she gave him this chart that I'm sure you could find. And it's this chart. It has the whole, cycle of the sun, and then the time and the organ relating. And then she, associated a tapping technique to it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's called thought field therapy. And she works long distance. Her name is Dr. Carolyn Sakai.
Okay.
But the long distance, though, is she can't really muscle test you long distance. But if you're on Oahu, I'll give you her name.
Okay.
One other thing that I'll add that this is important for everyone is just like blood sugar basically can definitely do something like that as well. So really the only way you would know if you're having some kind of like blood sugar crash or something like that would be if you had a continuous glucose monitor on, which most people can't really get unless they actually have diabetes and their insurance will cover that. But that is just something to look at, is just your overall blood sugar balance, and just trying to be extra careful about that as well. And some people recommend doing something like a spoonful of coconut oil and maybe a spoonful of honey like at night before bed. I don't typically practice that, but I've seen people use that, like practitioners recommend that as something to help people sleep. So it's just another one of those things to consider and play with. You know what I mean? It's like just know that that's also something for you to consider, is just like, what is your blood sugar doing at night, right?
Yeah, and then there's another option if you don't peel out at night, or you can just do a small amount. You can do, if you're not vegan, you can do collagen protein. I think you're a vegetarian though, Nana. But you can do collagen protein or I don't know, some other protein. But anyway, it would be coconut milk that has coconut fat, maybe a little ghee, and collagen protein, and a little tiny bit of salt, and a little bit of raw local honey. And that's another one. Like there are a bunch of different little remedies where you get a little fat and a little protein and a little, carbohydrate to get you through the night so you don't have a blood sugar issue. Oh, another thing I should have mentioned earlier is eating late at night. I mean, I really 2-3 hours between the time you last snack, eat anything till the time you eat breakfast. But with the exception of maybe making that tea, you can make a golden milk tea and add some protein to it. So something that's not solid matter you have to digest is okay to carry your blood sugar through, but you don't want to be digesting solid food while you're trying to eat fragment at night.
Okay. Well, that was a lot. I'm glad I took notes.
Thank
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. Anybody else?
Might be a big subject. Sorry to wait to the very end to ask, but I'm noticing that my moon cycle is just taking forever to actually land, and I'm even kind of, I got that like fear for a moment because I felt almost slightly feverish, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's the coronavirus, and I have no other symptoms, whatever, who knows, we all have to act like we are infected, but I was just wondering if there's any if you kind of food wisdom around this particular like pre-menstrual time, and or supplements that you feel like are particularly good allies.
I think that is a huge topic. I think it's just kind of the stuff we've been talking about, but bulk up your iron. So like leafy greens, beets, if you do eat meat, red meat kind of stuff, liver, that kind of thing, organ meat. But beef up your iron, make sure you get good fats. Your hormones need good fats. If you're eating meat, it can't be factory farm. It has to be like grass-fed pasture, at least organic, natural, the best you can get. And so just make sure the quality of nutrients, and just watch the sugar. The more sugar you eat, the worse your cramps will be, I promise.
More inflammation.
Hey,
But yeah,
Caffeine can even cause more problems. Go ahead, Skya.
I was just like everything we mentioned will definitely help that, because we're going for overall, physiological function and balance, and obviously like every part of our lives, affect that. And so your moon cycle is completely tied into all that, right? It's hormonal, it's it's organs, it's detoxing, it's blood, it's like all of that. So it's everything. Yeah. So it's a big topic, but at the same time, it's just calling for more and more of like the self-care that we've been exploring. So just keep it up, and just keep listening to your body, and don't be scared. Just listen to it. Yeah.
I feel like the quality of your period kind of says a lot about how much stress you've been under, emotionally, chemically, whatever. And so the more painful a regular period is, the more nurture we need. It's a feedback mechanism from a woman's body, and men probably get other symptoms, and cycles. But so just like I notice when I've been really out of balance, then I don't have very pleasant periods. But when I'm in balance, then they're like super regular, and, and just, I barely have any cramps at all. So it's just a reflection of how we're living and how we're thinking.
Yeah, I'm finding being greatly resourced these last 3 weeks have really amped up my attention to the work that we've been doing this past year. And so I'm like kind of following more than I have ever followed. I'm feeling better than I've ever felt. And at this, moment I am, this other factor of being, as we all are. And then with with my moon coming, or like, when are you coming? Like, that whole confusion made me want to ask, and kind of think about what are the different ways. But I'm doing a lot of what you're saying, and we'll keep it up, especially.
Yay. I think, Amber, I saw you unmute. We can take one more question. I actually have an online event in 5 minutes. So are you sure, Amber? Is it a quickie or a big topic? Can you tell us what it was?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that I've had it where I'm so stressed out that I will skip my period. So I understand that I will be so stressed out that I'll actually skip my period. So
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would make sense because this is a stressful time for everyone, right?
My last one was very weird, so it made me very uncomfortable. I was hopefully we're used to that, but
I can normally like set my calendar by my period. It's so regular, and mine just
Yeah.
came 4 days early. So it's either stress or the fact that my roommates are home all the time and I'm trying to sync up with them or something.
Mhm.
So, anyway, all right. Thank you for joining. And we're gonna Skya's gonna send out an email in just a few minutes with the replay, the donate button, and well, no, not the replay I lied. We don't have that ready yet. With the donate button and with the
Link to our Calendly. So if you'd love to, get on a call, we would love to talk to you. And you can just go ahead and schedule a time with us. It's all there through the links.
What we can do in the 20 minutes we have. I've already talked to one of you about this. We haven't announced this publicly yet. We're giving you a little sneak peek, but we have a 6-week online program that we're doing in very small groups of 5 to 10 people. And Skya is going to lead one group. I'm going to lead one group. And the idea behind this is to take this time, I keep saying the portal, the opportunity, take this downward spiral, turn it into an upward spiral. And it's going to be 6 weeks. And we're going to teach you how to be your own health detective. We're going to teach you how to implement a lot of this stuff that we're telling you that's more general, how to specifically apply that in your life. We're going to break it down into more bite-sized pieces that you can apply throughout your life. So it's not just like, do all these changes like now, like it's actually going to sequence it for you and drip sequence it to you so you can and get the benefit of it without getting overwhelmed. And so we're really excited about it. It's something we had designed anyway. It's the culmination of, I did the math, and Skya and I have like 35 years of combined experience doing this. And so we've distilled it down into this yummy 6-week experience that we think is going to be very loving and uplifting and soothing and empowering. And so we're giving first dibs to these webinar people who came to this webinar. So if you want one of the slots, let us know. You can text, you can email, you can schedule a Calendly link. We'll go over the details. No pressure to actually join. Like if you just want information, we'll give you information. If you want to join, great. If it's not a fit, fine. Same with the one-on-one coaching. No pressure. Anything you want to add, Skya?
No, that's it. So, and then the next day we will send you out actually the recording of this call.
Yeah.
As well. It just takes us a day to process it. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you for being here. We appreciate
guys.
you. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your good vibes.
Thank
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Jill and Jessica. Jeffrey, it's nice to meet you, sort of.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for your loving care. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Jessica.
Really, really good care of yourselves. Do it.
For all of us.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye. Mwah.